Dear friends, with the next sound of the small bell, we may like to stand up to welcome our Dharma teachers.
Good morning, dear respected Thay, dear respected community. We are very happy to gather today for a session of questions and answers, questions and responses. And we're very lucky to have a special panel up here. This moment only once. On my left we have Hien Nghiem, from New Hamlet and more recently from California. Thoai Nghiem is one of the elders in our sisters community. On my right we have Phap Khoi, Brother Radiance, from Magnolia Grove Monastery in Mississippi in the US. Also one of our elder brothers in our community. And on his right we have Phap Khoi from Blue Cliff Monastery in upstate New York, and another elder in our community. And I'm the young one here, and my name is True Dedication from Lower Hamlet, Plum Village. So this morning we have a chance to reflect deeply on a question from our heart and to share it with the Sangha for us to offer some responses. And a question from our heart means a question that has something to do with our happiness and our suffering, our challenges. Something that we are struggling to break through ourselves with our own practice, and we would like the help of the Sangha to shine some light on that question. We may also like to ask a question on behalf of our Sangha, our local Sangha or community, if there's a question we are holding as a community. And each one of us who has a question will be invited to come up, and maybe we can make a little line here. You can bring a cushion to sit on, and we will take it in turns to sit on the chair here. And we will listen to a sound of the bell, and then we will have a chance to share our question. And we know that a good question doesn't need to be very long. We can try to capture the essence of our question, and we will also try to share answers that also don't have to be too long. So we'll all try our best to support each other this morning. And the session is being recorded, so please be aware of that if you come to ask a question. And if you feel too shy or you really cannot come up, we can send a written question forward to the bell master, and the written questions will be passed up to the panel. And from time to time, we may take 1 or 2 written questions. No. You can send your questions anonymously, if you like. So, if you have a question, please come up. We can come around and gather here near the panel.
Because the time is limited, so even though we know that some of you really would like to say some gratitude words, but we don't really would like it to take so much time of the question. Thank you.
So the first question, we can have a seat and we will listen to one sound of the bell.
Dear Thay, dear Sangha, dear teachers, a few months ago when Putin decided to invade Ukraine, at that night I was crying a lot. I couldn't believe such a thing had happened in this century. After that night, I was engaged a lot in a lot of even online or offline demonstration just to against the violence in Ukraine. And I was just remember Thay used to lead a lot of peaceful and mindful demonstration against the nuclearization, against the war. So I think I'm aware that the very first thing I need to do for the Ukrainian people and even the soldiers from the Russian side is to maintain my daily practice. I'm very aware of that. But since I'm sitting here and feel really peaceful, everyone feel very peaceful, and at the same time, the war is still going on in Ukraine right now at this moment. So I guess my question is, so you think if Thay can still walk on this earth, will he encourage us as a global Sangha to do the mindful and peaceful demonstration against the violence, not to take side, but just against the violence which is happening just right now in Ukraine? Thank you.
Good morning, dear beloved Thay, dear beloved community. A few months ago, when I heard the news about the war, I also cried as well. I did not sleep. I went out for a walk. As a Buddhist practitioner, my role is to practice, but not to engage in political or become a warrior or become a soldier to go and take side, one side or another side. We know that the war is affected globally. It's like the word that I often used. We are interbeing. Many people are dying at the moment, and most of us as practitioners, we also wounds as well. You can see the price is rising, inflation, gas, food, everything is increasing in price. So it affects the whole world, not just Ukraine or Russia. And in the past, our teacher often remind us that you have to have a lot of peace within yourself in order to transcend that peace to the victims. As a practitioner, you cannot go and demonstrate violently. But as yourself, as a practitioner, you can do the same. You can sit beautifully, walk beautifully, eat beautifully, driving beautifully, mindfully. And those mindful energy will help other people. You don't have to go over there and fight for. So we have to be very wise to practice. We come here together as a spiritual family. We already make a lot of effort. When we are one side or the other side, we often create a lot of disharmony within ourselves. And as a practitioner, we don't want to take side. We want our heart, our mind to be peaceful as much as possible, so we can balance between chaotic and mindfulness. And many times in Thay's life, Thay has encouraged us to practice walking meditation or sitting meditations. The past 7 days after sitting meditation, the Bell Master reminds us that try your best to practice mindfully so that energy can radiate the world. That is all we can do at the moment. Many of us practice mindfulness. Many of us practice to be aware of what is going on, but not to take side. Then peace can be possible. Of course, there's a lot of practice for us to do. If you are wealthy enough, you can offer donations so they can offer hungry children or so. But as a practitioner, just play your role, just to practice. Try your best to practice. The whole time you dedicate into practicing. Every moment your mind is pure, every moment your mind is at peace, then you already helped a lot for those who are suffering in the world. Thank you.
We have a ray of sunlight on the hot seat. If it's too hot, you can move the chair slightly. Okay, wonderful.
Dear Thay, dear community, sorry for my English. I'm not very. It's difficult for me, but I try. I am in Hamlet since 2 years, and I had a lot of insight of the origin of suffering, of a lot of problem I have inside. But there is one I found recently, and it came out last day when we heard the poem of Thay. When he said human beings are not our enemy. And for me, I can trust at all to human beings. And it's very difficult for me to live like this. I'm always thinking that if I don't know the people, I am fear of them that they can hurt me or something like that. And it makes me growing a lot of anger and violence. But I practice a lot, different sitting meditation, walking meditation. I do touching of the earth, who help me a lot. And I feel that it's a wall for me to go deeper in my path and to flow with the Sangha.
And the question.
Yeah. And my question, what can I do?
So I will try to recap the question. You were very touched by Thai's poem that man is not the enemy, and in the New Hamlet, we heard it sung by Brother Phap Khoi. Very beautiful, a very magic moment. And so you know this teaching, but you would like to know how to practice with it, because you struggle, especially when you meet strangers. You feel maybe that man is the enemy, and that you feel threatened sometimes, and that anger and violence come up in you. Could you be more specific about when you struggle to practice with this insight that man is not the enemy?
For example, one day I had a reunion with a brother, and
Si vous aimeriez parler en français, peut-être c'est plus facile parce qu'avec le système de son, on n'entend pas les mots suffisamment clairement.
Je parle en français?
Oui, et on peut
D'accord.
traduire après.
Oui, quand je sens cette émotion qui vient, cette peur, j'ai le choix déjà, soit de réagir, et là c'est la colère et ça peut être la violence, soit alors de subir, et là c'est ma peur qui prend le dessus, enfin la peur et la souffrance, et j'essaye de respirer, me dire tu ne risques rien, etc., etc. Mais il y a une chose aussi, c'est que le monde tel qu'il est, et tout ce qu'on a subi ces 2 dernières années, ça a réveillé chez moi beaucoup de choses, et je suis submergé, et je sens que la pratique telle que je la fais, peut-être je la fais mal, j'en sais rien, elle n'est pas suffisante, je ne sais pas comment expliquer mieux.
Alors la question, c'est comment être avec la peur et la violence quand ça monte en soi en réaction devant les autres.
C'est ça.
Okay. So in summary, the question is, how can we practice with the energies of fear or violence when they come up in reaction to other people? How can we be with fear and violence without suppressing them, but also without watering those seeds? Okay.
Dear teacher, dear community, dear friend, I will try my best to shine light on the question, and then I hope that my sisters and brother can add on. I think this is the question that all of us can look deeply into and to practice. Often when someone said something or did something that caused us to suffer, our usual reaction is to think that person is the enemy. Enemy is quite a strong word, but that person makes me angry, that person hurts me, so we see that person as the cause of our suffering. But Thay's wisdom is that if we practice to look deeply, we will see that there are sources and conditions that give rise to that person's act towards us or words towards us. And that speech or that action is not the whole of that person, but when the situation happened, that's how we see the other person is just that, and hence the enemy. But we can take another step back and look at ourselves. Have we ever treated ourselves as an enemy? Have we ever despised ourselves? Have we ever feel angry at ourselves? Have we ever feel that we dislike ourselves? I'm sure we all have. So in that case, we're also the enemy to ourselves. And then that is not true, because we're also all other aspects of being a human. We're also a loving person. We can also be a kind person. So I think we are encouraged to take a step back and start with ourselves. You have already shared that you have been doing the practices to help you to cultivate this energy of mindfulness, of awareness. Shine that light on yourselves.
and see in the past, have you ever seen yourself in the same light as if you were seeing in another person when a negative emotion arose? And if so, learn to forgive yourself and not seeing yourself as someone that you despise, but someone that needs love, someone who was misguided or who misunderstood things. And when we are able to start with ourselves and learn to forgive ourselves and to embrace ourselves, then we'll have a chance to learn to forgive the other, to embrace the other, and to look at the other person more than just that action or that speech. And I think when we're able to see that person in that light, this means understanding. We learn to understand the other person, then we can learn to be forgiving and be compassionate towards that person. Of course, we still have to deal with the difficulty that, or the suffering that was caused. But if we're able to communicate, we can help the other person to be more aware, and also we can help each other to resolve the conflict or the difficulty without the energy of trying to harm the person, because we know that the enemy here, for lack of a better term, is the ignorance, is the anger, is the hatred, and not the person. So in this sense, we see the humanity in the other person because we're able to see the same thing in ourselves. Given the situation, we would probably act the same way as the other person. And so, in short, I would ask that we all can start with ourselves and see if we can learn to look at ourselves as not the enemy and love ourselves, and then we have a better chance at looking at the other person as not the enemy. Yeah, maybe our sisters and brothers can add on. Thank you for listening.
Dear Thay, dear Sangha, hello. My question today is about aimlessness. So I've been struggling to adopt the practice in my life because currently I'm very concerned and passionate about climate change. And this is something that I think many people feel is an urgent issue that we need to work on and address for everyone and for all living things. And in my life, I feel like I've been working towards something, and it's very hard because it's almost like a circle. You work, and then there's more work, and you circle, and you work, and then oh my gosh, there's more. So I feel like I've been in a cycle of trying to fix a problem which is bigger than me. And yeah, in this retreat, I was confronted, or not confronted, but introduced to the concept of aimlessness, and I'm trying to see how to practice that in a situation that's so urgent. Yeah. Thank you.
I was trying to have my sister here to give this answer because she has been in the countdown and thinks about the climate change. So I think she's more relevant to give you the concrete answer.
Thank you so much for this question. Thay said something which was very helpful for me, which is that we can act with the urgency of today, but also with the freedom of eternity. So my understanding of the teachings on aimlessness is to give us freedom while we act, to enjoy the actions that we take, and to really pay attention to our way of being while we are doing. So, preparing to go on a protest, working with your fellow climate activists. Every moment counts. Every moment you can live deeply with joy, with a real spirit of solidarity. And so how we work together and how we take action is as important as the result of the action. And this is also important because what we can contribute to our future and the future of other generations is not only the action itself, but the way of being, because we would like for future generations to know how to find calm in the storm, to know how to have compassion for each other, to know how to collaborate and how to listen deeply. And we would like future generations not only to have the results of the action itself, but our way of being. We are watering those seeds now that we would like to be there in young people in 100 years' time or 200 years' time. So if, as you walk to a protest, you can hear the birds singing and you allow yourself to enjoy the birds singing, that is also building peace for future generations, because we would love that young people in 100 years' time can still enjoy the birds singing. And our action may be protecting the birds, and that is wonderful, but also part of living deeply on the planet is how we are in relation to the planet. So as you step out to go to the demonstration doesn't start at 10 a.m. in that public square. How we walk, how we enjoy the sound of the birds, how we are with the people that we're participating in the demonstration with, that is also your contribution. So I think the teaching on aimlessness shows that we already have all the conditions in each moment to contribute something positive. We don't have to wait until our act is successful to contribute something positive. And when Thay taught about aimlessness, it doesn't mean that we don't have a dream. So Thay said we all can have a dream and we want to identify and cultivate that dream, but to find ways that we can realize that dream at every step. And in this retreat, we're learning how the past, the present, and the future inter-are. That will be one of the themes that we continue to explore. And so we allow ourselves to be in the present, to have our dream, and to see how in any moment all the conditions are already there to realize our dream step by step. And we don't wait for something to happen in order, for example, as Brother Phap said, to be happy. We don't need to wait for humanity to solve the climate crisis once and for all in order to be happy. In fact, it will mean we need many generations to continue to protect the planet. Our generation, it will not be enough. We will need to change our way of being with the earth for many hundreds of years to come. So actually, it's not only the action that is important, it is the way of being that is important. And that's what we can cultivate with our friends and that we can transmit to the next generation. So in fact, as you say, the work will never be done, but we can learn new ways of being and learn how to share those ways of being with others of our generation and also with the young generation. And that is a very concrete response to the climate crisis. We're giving each other the skills we need to stay human and generous and compassionate and respectful of all life. So we can find the aimlessness while keeping the dream alive. Yeah. Okay, yeah, thank you.
Dear Thay, dear community, my question is about practicing peace and mindfulness while living in a big city. I'm living in New York City, and the sensory experiences there are very intense. The sounds, the smells, the heat. The general pace of the city is very fast, and I maintain my sense of peace by enjoying trees or birds that are around, but the energy is very strong there, and it makes it very difficult to cultivate this energy that I find here or in other places that are closer to nature. And I also care deeply about the climate and life on Earth, and I've dedicated my life to this. And my question is basically, in times where it feels very difficult while living in a city to cultivate that sense of peace and slowness, how to practice in the face of that.
Dear respected Thay, dear community, the answer is several, but I don't know whether you can do it or not. I used to live, and I'm still living in California, and it's also in a big city. I bet that you probably learn about all the basic things, like how to breathe while you do walking, and you're supposed to do walking meditation fast, not slow, but from your way from home to work or from home to the metro or something like that. Mindfulness doesn't mean have to be slow. It means that you are aware of what's going on. So if you are walking and you're aware that you are walking, that's good enough. As long as you be able to master yourself, then you can stop inside and regain some energy of mindfulness. Living in a big city, the pace is quite quick and rush, and if you let yourself be carried away by that energy, definitely you will feel lost. And there's a story that a person who is in a horse, and the horse would carry that person somewhere the person doesn't even know. So it's the same thing when we live in the society and we are not very mindful of what we are doing, then we be carried away by whatsoever is happening. And until one point that we don't really know where we are and what we are doing. So I don't know how much you are familiar with the practice, but if you experience your time here with walking meditation and everything else in meditation, even when we be in the queue to get the food, if you be able to follow your breath and enjoy being queuing, you can do it when you come back. And you don't feel like you are wasting your time, because everywhere and anytime you still can go back to your breathing, and you still can master of your emotions, your feelings, and so on. But the things that are more concrete that can help you is that if you be able to find a Sangha, people who really want to do the same thing like you do, then it can help you to enjoy the supportive energy from other people as well. And one of the things that we have been encouraged people to do is building Sangha, also to build some mindfulness practice center in the city where people can stop by, do some short meditation before going to work or after working. So those moments can help you to come back to yourself and relax and give you energy. Nowadays with the online, you can do it online too. So save some times to do sitting together, to enjoy the energy from other people as well as you are creating the energy for yourself. And you can do online with Blue Cliff Monastery. It's the same time zone. So they sit in the monastery and you can sit in your apartment, and you can do some sitting in the morning. Or if you have time, then they live right in Pine Bush. You can drive over to them and enjoy a day of mindfulness over there. Back to Thay's time, then his students also have to work a lot. And that's why we create Plum Village. So people have places to come back and to incorporate the work, and also with the practice of regaining strength and energy. So there are several things that you can do. And the best, not the best, but there's another one that just come to Plum Village and stay for long. Because if you stay for only 1 or 2 weeks, then your energy, the energy that you're being able to create is good, but it's not enough. So most people complain that after they go back to the city, then it's gone. And they just have to keep coming back. But my experience is if you live at one place long enough, then your practice is more stable and you'll be able to master all of the Dharma doors that can help you to live freely and stably. And that's better. So it's all the options, and it's also an invitation to everyone. But you choose it, and like I said right now, with the online, it's much easier. You can always find with your time zone what is the best, and you can participate online with Sangha, other Sangha as well. It doesn't have to be New York Sangha, and with other monasteries where they are doing the practice all the time. Thank you for your question.
Before we listen to a sound of the bell, we'll just have a bit of homework time, reading the written questions here. We can enjoy a sound of the bell. I listen, I listen. This wonderful sound brings me back to my true home.
Dear Thay, dear teachers, dear Sangha, I'm so happy to be here with you today. My question is about impermanence. This is something that has been going on in my mind for quite some time, and I can't come to terms with it. I have some unwholesome seeds which I understand I have inherited from my ancestors, like some sadness, some depression, some anger. And now these seeds are in me, I'm working with them, but I can see that in certain behavior, they have already been transmitted to my children who are not in the practice, in this practice of Plum Village. And so I say, I can transform my unwholesome seeds in me. But, and I have read, I think in the Sutra of the full awareness of breathing, but I'm not so sure, because I haven't been in the practice for so long. I think I've read that by transforming the seeds, the unwholesome seeds in the present, you can transform the ones in the past too, the same ones that come from the past. But I don't know, I'm kind of confused because I can see them already in my children, so the past has gone to the future. And so, how is it that I can transform them really, the ones in the past, into the present and into the future? Is it clear? I don't know. Thank you very much.
So, dear Thay, dear community, dear friend, thank you for your question. It's a tough question. I'll try my best to share with you. I believe that we heard that Thay has shared over many times that everything needs nourishment in order to continue to exist, and so do our anger, our sadness, our depression. They need to be fed in order to continue. And so, in order to transform them or to lessen their effect, we have to identify the source of nutriments for them. What feeds into our anger? What feeds our depression? What feeds our suffering? Of course, we know that they are transmitted from the past. So that's one source of where they come from. But without continuous conditions that keeps them manifested, they will surely die. But somehow they're with us, and they're manifesting the energy. So our part is to look into what is being fed, what are we doing that's feeding them, and if we can intervene from that aspect, then we have a chance of helping to transform them. Yeah, we cannot go back to the past and ask our parents not to transmit it to us, or we cannot go into the past and prevent ourselves from transmitting them to our children. That has already been done. So what we can only do now is to see what are the conditions, what are the sources that are keeping them healthy, keeping the anger stronger. Then we address those sources. We transform, or we cut those sources. And you can do that for yourselves. And then when you see that it is suitable time and space, you can help your children to do the same, so that they won't pass them on to their children, to your grandchildren. But start with yourselves first and see. We might not succeed the first time. We continue. And so that's what practice means. We continue to look into the sources that are feeding these difficulties and address them, change them. It's like a good example would be a cake. A cake shouldn't be an example for anger, but that's what comes to mind right now. So you have a lot of ingredients to put in to make a cake that you want. But if you change one of those ingredients, the cake is not the same. And if you remove all the ingredients, there will no longer be a cake. It will be something else. So in the same sense, if you are able to identify all the ingredients that manifested this anger in you or sadness, and you remove those sources, you change those sources, then the anger changed. The anger can be lessened, or it can be joy. And so if we apply the same formula to our other difficult emotions, I trust that we're able to see the transformation. Yeah. Thank you.
Dear friends, we will listen to one sound of the bell, and then we will answer a written question. Thank you. I know my parents love me in their way, but how can I do it when the way they show it is in control, fear, and attachment? Lately, the only way we don't hurt each other is not to spend so much time together. And there's also a few similar questions about love and attachment. We're born as a human being, and love is something is very beautiful. Amazingly, everyone needs to be loved, need to be cared, and our parents are the one who love us so much. In this audience, we have a lot of mothers and mother-to-be, and the moment you notice that you're pregnant, you are so joyful many, many ways from that moment. Not until, we don't have to wait until that child to manifest 9 months later. And that love is being born already at that moment you noticed. And when you manifest, our parents raised us until 18 years old. And most of us want to fly away from home. But mothers always cares for us in many, many ways. I remembered I ordained here in 2001, and my mother navigated me from the stay here for sure, to know for sure that I will ordain. Thay often reminds us that when you become a monk or nun, it's like you are married to Buddha, to the community. And outside world is the same. You're married. It is a lifetime commitment. That's why my mom bring me all the way here. Notice that I'm safe in this environment. And all parents are like that. When you become a mother or father, you always want your children to be saved in many, many ways. And some of us see that it is an obstacle. Some of us see it is an attachment. But by practicing mindfulness, after you practice, you come home, you just do the practice. And your parents will see that you have the transformations, and they will not worry. They will not have that seed of worry anymore. Otherwise, if you so fragile, ups and downs a lot, you're not stable, then of course your parents will worry for you, for your well-being. So the way for you to make your parents to feel more confidence about you is your own practice, your well-being. You don't have to suffer. They see you joyful, they see you find a path, they see you find a partner that's reliable, saved, and they will let you go. So to me, it's not like an attachment, but it is because of love. They want to make sure that you are safe before they let you fly to be free. When you love someone, you don't want to put that person in a cage, like a bird. Many people nowadays, they want to search for a beautiful bird and just to enjoy the bird sings. But the sounds, beautiful sounds, when the bird sings, it when he or she free. He or she can sit on the branches and sings, and it will radiate 100% of that beautiful sounds. It will not sound beautiful when that bird in a cage. So the same with us. We try to practice in such a way that our parents feel at ease, feel that you have that path. You are solid enough for your parents to let you be free. And of course, you will not be available with your parents. Sometime at the age of 60, 70, they will turn into cloud. They are beloved Thay. And we have to see that day will come. And many of us are preparing for that day. So a kind of reminder from our parents is not like they want to make you uncomfortable, but it's a way that they want to show love and care. So when we say we don't want to be with them, to be closer with them, sometimes it's just from our feelings, just that moment. We want to withdraw and have some time to ourselves, which is okay as well. But when we look at our hands, we look at our eyes, when you look at our whole body, all the transmissions from our parents, we cannot hide away. We cannot take this part from our parents. So when we're angry, we say that I don't want to have anything to do with you. But in reality, yes, they are bonding to us every moment of our life. So to be loved, to be someone care for you, that is an opportunity. And later on, you don't have that opportunity anymore. Especially during this COVID, millions of people die, and it might happen to your family members as well. So when we practice, we see that, yes, allow your time to be by yourself, but also give yourself to surrender yourself for your parents, for your loved ones, to take care of you. Thank you.
Dear Thay, dear beloved community, I don't usually feel nervous in front of people, but I'm very nervous now. I think this question just needs to be asked, but I don't feel like asking it. But I think it is important. Could you please share your thoughts how mindfulness and self-compassion can address the problems of racism in our world. Thank you.
The question is, how can mindfulness and self-compassion address the problems of racial injustice in the world and hatred in the world?
This is a big issue. I think we are all inter-are. And Thay said that a man is made with non-man elements. So when we label one person with a name because of the race or because of the behavior or because of whatsoever, we know that it's not absolutely truth. And we have to know that I am like this because you are like that. So all of you have contributed to my being. If you be able to go beyond the comparison, go beyond the judgment, then you see that all men are the same. The Buddha said that all men's blood are the same. And he is an example of overcome the racial in India. Is that correct? Yeah, because in India there's a big discrimination about classes. I think that's even worse than the racial, because like if you belong to one class and you cannot even do anything. And the Buddha had made the revolution by receiving everyone into his order of monks. So practicing mindfulness, and especially in nowadays, to generate the energy of compassion can help that. But what we need to do is we need to let everyone know about that. We come to a retreat, 800 people, 900 people, we all walk together, we all do sitting together, we all generate the energy of peace and harmony together, but that is nothing in compared to the world outside. And the number of people who know about the practice is still very, very small. So self-compassion is a key, because nobody can love you except yourself. And also, no matter whether we are, here we are very international. I think even up here we are international already. But in the practice, we don't have the difference. We might have the difference in the way we eat, in the culture we have been growing up with, but in the way of living together and having the same, have the same ideal to serve beings, we don't have any difference. So if you get a chance to practice mindfulness, then you know that you are not alone. And if you be able to bring your transformation into something more peaceful, more compassionate to other people, you can influence them to practice the same way. And if everyone understands the key of inter-R, then we don't see the separation. So in Buddhism, we always say that this is because of that is. Nothing starts like that. And all the condition comes together to make up one thing, one other things to happen. Try to understand yourself and understand other people when they have some reaction that you don't feel like you are comfortable with. If you be able to understand that, then you can love yourself and you can love others. This also relates to the very first question about the enemy and non-enemy. We actually don't have any enemies. The only enemy may be ourselves. And if we be able to practice to do the reconciliation within ourselves, we can have peace in ourselves. Peace will happen everywhere else too. And home is everywhere. So it's easy to be said. It's difficult to do. It takes a lot of practice and a lot of years of practice. Sometimes when we hear a Dharma talk or we read one wise words or one wise sentence, we think, oh, it's great. But it's not easy to apply it. So here we really put all the practice down to earth, and everybody can experience your transformation if you really practice during the time you are here. Then you can have faith that you can do it. It's just a matter of time. And if you can do it slowly, a little bit by day, one day you will see the path is wide open and there is no discrimination when you get up to that level. Put it this way, if you want to buy a computer, you said, okay, I need a computer. Everybody agree. But when we come to discuss like what kind of computer, what model, what is this, what is that, what color, what is the price, people will have different ideas. And those different ideas create conflicts. But the main thing is the same. We need a computer. So all human beings are looking for peace. All human beings are looking for love. But just because our way of approaching it are different, and also we are unskillful, then it becomes separation and conflicts and hurting each other. So keep up with the practice and understand the reason why people are doing. First, you have to understand about yourself first, why you feel like that. Why the same sentence being said and other people don't feel like that, but you feel like that. What sits inside me have been touched. Is it come from my parents? Or because of some child wounded? Or something happened in the past that I haven't been able to look and transform it? And now somebody else touch it? And it creates suffering again. First, you have to spend your time to understand yourself. Then you can understand other people. And I truly believe that if everyone can do like that, we don't have to have problems with labeling and things like that. But right now, like I said, the number of people are still very small, and we count on all of you. If you can practice and get some transformation, you can see that this is the right path for you to go, then try to bring it to other people. Because we do need a lot of people who can experience peace and who can experience the transformation and who can get out from suffering. Thank you for the question.
Thank you so much for the question. Please stay, please stay. Thank you, dear Sukho. First, I want to really honor the question and also the suffering that lies behind the question. And as Sukho Thoai Nghiem shared, as students of Thay, it's our responsibility to practice non-discrimination. And that is an inner journey for each of us, whether we've been socialized as white, as Asian, as Indian, as a person of color. And so each one of us in this hall, this question is also for us. How can we practice to cultivate the energies of mindfulness and compassion to reduce the suffering of racial injustice and inequity in our own society, whether we're here in Europe or whether we're in America? And in our community, we start to have many white awareness groups for those of us who have been socialized as white to understand our role implicitly in contributing to suffering and to understand how we can learn different ways of being in order that the structures of inequity and the systems of injustice in the world can be addressed at the root. And we know that the collective consciousness is made of the individual consciousness. And as Sukho Thoai Nghiem shared, the more practitioners we have, the more we can also shift the collective consciousness. And it is an object of our contemplation. How can we, in our own lives, in our own sanghas, and in our engaged practice, address the systems of inequity that are also still in place? So there is spiritual, deep looking, spiritual work for us all to do. And I'm very grateful for the word of self-compassion in the question. We cannot offer compassion to others unless we have it for ourselves. And it can be very painful for those of us in this hall and outside to really faire face, it's the French word, confront, to face and confront our own, the contribution of our ancestors. And this is spiritual work for us to do with compassion for ourselves, for our ancestors, and for those who have suffered from the actions of our ancestors. And I think with the energy of mindfulness, as Sukho Thoai Nghiem very clearly explained, our heart can embrace everyone. We can be more inclusive, and we can find ways in our sanghas, in our retreats, to create safe and inclusive spaces where everyone can feel at home, can feel a sense of belonging. And this is our work, and we will need your help. We would love to have more diversity in our retreats. We would love to have more diversity in our sanghas. And that would inspire our engaged action to address the systems of inequality that are still in place, so we can contribute our mindfulness, our concentration, and our insight into how to help evolve and transform those systems, the collective and the individual into our, and that is some of the work we have to do. Please send us your recommendations if we have ideas to contribute to the Sangha for how we can do better in this work. Please let us know. Please write to us and write to the Lay Dharma Teacher Council, and we will do our best to support you and to support this important work, this important spiritual path of healing for everyone. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, please.
Sorry to keep you seated so long. Dear Sangha, I just wanted to add a little bit more, and that is a concrete suggestion would be that from the spiritual standpoint, I know racism is a big subject and there are many approaches to help address it or dismantling it, but from a spiritual standpoint, I believe that if we're able as a community practitioners to create more spaces for the oppressed group, and currently we're identified as the BIPOC, Black, Indigenous, people of color, to create safe spaces for them to come together, to practice mindfulness, then I think that's one of the very good approaches to help dismantling racism, not only in those who are, I think what I'm trying to say is to place the focus on the oppressed group, the one who racism is against, and to create spaces for them to actually feel comfortable, so that they can touch the joy of the practice as we all have. For many, they may not be comfortable to come to a retreat like this, but just to have a space for them to feel safe so that they can be among them, feeling that they're among the majority, so that they can let their guards down and relax. And that's when you're relaxed and when you're calm and when you're at ease, both mentally and physically, the teachings and the practice will have a chance to permeate, and you can really feel the nourishment from the practice. But if you're always tensed, it's very difficult to receive this rich teaching. And I'm speaking from experience also. And so for all of us, whatever colors we are, when I would encourage them, when you see or when you hear there is a BIPOC retreat or a BIPOC get-together, please help support that. We can support by being present, by showing up if we're a member of the BIPOC group. But if we're not, we can support by not being present. I repeat that. We can support by not being present. That means a lot. Just don't think that because you're not present, you're not supporting. Sometimes we can support more when you're not present. If you're a parent and you want your child to grow, you don't want to be in your child's space all the time. Sometimes the best support is to remove yourself from your child's presence so your child can learn and have the space to grow. So in a similar way, when you hear of a get-together of a BIPOC group or a retreat, and this we have started, and Thay has started the first BIPOC at Deer Park in 2004. And we had continued for some time, and at some point they dropped off, and we're trying to galvanize to restart this. So please offer support. Encourage your BIPOC friends to register and to come. Help find different ways to support those kinds of retreats, so that everyone can feel the safe space that you're feeling. So that the teaching can touch everyone, and everyone has a chance to be touched by the teachings. Then transformation can really take place. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, brother, for your question.
So we'd like to invite the next person with a question to come up, and this will be our last question. We have a special program ahead, and we're coming to the end of our time.
Dear Thay, dear community, can you hear me? Okay. I've been exposed. I don't really want to. Is it okay? Okay. Now that we have a path, why is there nothing to fear?
Very good question. May I ask you why you come to this retreat when the title is like that?
I came to this retreat. Well, I'm a happy farmer. I'm a volunteering, so I'm here for the summer. I was at Deer Park for quite a while and watered a lot of seeds of healing. And I've come to continue watering those seeds and harvest them while I harvest fruits and veggies. Yeah.
My answer is very easy. If you feel happy and if you don't feel fear, then you don't need to come to this retreat. Actually, we all have some deep fear in ourselves. Maybe we haven't recognized it, but the fear can come from a very general thing like losing a job or don't have a person who understands us, or what is my future? It can go from a very broad reason like that. Then it comes to the more important things like, what should I do when I die? What will happen when I die? Of course, after dying is finished, so you don't have to worry after that. But still, the seed of fear is one of the seeds that has been sown deeply in each one of us for so many generations, and it's actually is the one of the fundamental seeds that everyone has. So the path is the way for us to learn, to understand about ourselves, to feel comfortable with ourselves, and be able to help us to answer the questions that we have had that lay deeply in our consciousness. The path can be different, but the path here that we meant is the Eightfold Path. It's a path that we know that can bring peace and happiness to everyone. And of course, once you be able to understand yourself, there is nothing more to fear, whether you die or whether you stay. Thay has a question. Thay has the sentence that is very well known: to be or not to be, that is no longer a question. And once you be able to live with that, there is no more fear. But before that, we fear of being late. We fear of being discriminating. We fear that not being accepted. There's so many different kinds of fear. And if we are insecure, we probably can live constantly in the fear. War can be broken. Poverty can happen. Hunger can happen. What is the future? So the whole society is very uncertain. And that's what waters the seed of fear inside each one of us. If we don't know how to practice and how to deal with ourselves, when this kind of thoughts coming up. It can ruin our present moment. And we can do walking meditation, but we actually walk with the fear in our mind. And all of these are basic practice. You know how to, you stay here with Happy Farm, so you know for sure that we learn, when we eat and we eat the food, we don't eat our thoughts. When we walk with our feet and our breath, but not with our thoughts. And what can worry us much more and make us suffer is our thoughts. And they work non-stop. They don't let you rest. They make you tired. So just go back to the practice, basic practice, so that you can enjoy the present moment. You know what you're doing. Then you don't have to worry about the future. And when you don't have to worry about the future, you don't have that fear. Maybe it's still at different level, but the basic fear, you will discover how to overcome it. I don't know who else would like to add, but I think this is a very interesting question. Especially, I probably have to ask the organizer to come up and see why they have this theme and what was in their mind by the time they organized it. I know my sister have something to add here.
I'm on one of the organizing team. So I have to check with my elder brothers and sister. I believe this is a phrase in the Confucian tradition, and that there are different phrases for when you turn 10, 20, 30, and 40. And when you turn 40 years old, and this is Plum Village's 40th anniversary, I believe this is the line. You have a path, you have nothing to fear. Someone help me. So sometimes we joke about these decades, but I think there is something to learn from it. Our teacher passed away this year, and we say that our path is our teacher. So our precepts, the mindfulness trainings, whether it's the 5 trainings or the 14 trainings or the several hundred trainings of the monks and nuns, that is our teacher, that becomes our teacher and is always accompanying us. And this is a little bit connected also to the question about aimlessness. So we have nothing to fear, because if we are on that path, we are already doing everything we can in each moment. We're just taking care of one moment at a time. And being on that path, we're cultivating the good seeds, we're harvesting the fruits, we're transforming the compost, we're enjoying the flowers, we're taking out the slugs, taking out the weeds, and that is our practice. And we just take care of each moment, and on that path we can trust that that the river will arrive at the ocean. We can trust that we are where we need to be, and we will get to where we need to be. So there's some energy of trust in the aimlessness. And for me, that has been my experience. Since the first day I took the 5 mindfulness trainings, I thought, wow, one piece of paper. I kind of know how to live my life now. I've got my work cut out for me, because the 5 mindfulness trainings are still quite challenging, but we go in that direction, and that's why we have nothing to fear. We won't take the wrong path. We won't go in the wrong direction. Thank you for this question. It's time, says our elder brothers. So you can return to your seat. Thank you, everyone, for your patience, your presence, and your listening. I'm sure many questions have come up in our own hearts, and we will have more Dharma sharings where we can reflect on what we heard this morning and any of our own questions that came up. And the Dharma teachers will receive the unanswered written questions. So hopefully some of them can be addressed in the talks to come. And we will have one more session of question and answers also next week on the 14th in the Lower Hamlet. And I wonder if Sukho Thoai Nghiem would like to hold up this book of the Plum Village newsletter. Actually, Sukho Thoai Nghiem is one of the mothers who gave birth to the annual Plum Village newsletter for many decades. And this year the team has made a special edition that is also in English, celebrating 40 years and honoring our teacher. And we have 150 copies. I know there's more than that of us on the retreat. We're very grateful to the Parallax team, and Hisai from Parallax is here for helping print these and allow them to be delivered to our monasteries. So as a contribution to the work, the time, the technology, and the printing and the shipping, they're $25 each. So we would be very grateful if you would be happy to contribute that to enjoy one of these color-printed memorial issues of our annual newsletter. They will be available down in Shanghai, which is where we will be walking to shortly, in front of the gate. Oh, my Buddha. And it looks like there are signatures by Sister Chang Kong, either already in them, or she will, maybe, she's not here today, so the editorial team will be there and they can sign it for you. So we would like to finish with 3 sounds of the bell, and then I'm sure the organizing team has some announcements.